Hello, everybody. Welcome back to E20 Zone TV. What a day! What a day! It's only 1:30 in the afternoon on a Friday afternoon.
You're telling
Uh,
me.
to my right is Lucas, all the way from the US of A via Maryland. Lucas, how are you doing?
I'm all right, mate. I'm a bit tired. It was an early one for me today. Woke up, got in my 2 miles. Can't go back to sleep. I see the news, so hopefully this news will put me to sleep and calm me down because it is literally impossible to try and be positive at this club no matter what. It
It's
hasn't been
mad,
that
mate.
it hasn't been that long since we won one of the most important matches in our history, but even that it's hard to cling on to that positivity with all this just absolute just rubbish going on. It's really bad.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I hear you, mate.
Whether it's true or not, just the negative news is so tiring. It's exhausting.
I agree, mate. Right, before I get started, please smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new around here and check out the membership perks. If you want to become a member, they are there. I'll be doing a betting show this afternoon. If you like your betting, get on there, become a member, and I will give you some good betting tips
And hit
weekly.
that notification bell, please.
Hit the notification bell. Right, let's get into this one. Start off with this. Maguire and Tomley closer than ever. Alan Nixon, independent source. What do you make of that? Because some people are saying it's rubbish. Some people are saying it's not rubbish. It feels like a Moyes signings. Yeah. And obviously, other news is broken in the last sort of 25 minutes that Moyes may decide to leave if he doesn't get these targets. What are you saying, Lucas?
Um well, we'll start with the source, right? Alan Nixon. I'll be honest, I've never heard of the guy, never seen him on Twitter before. Normally, I can at least like say if I've seen someone on Twitter before because I my brain like works weird like that. But
Yeah.
I've never seen this guy before, but from what I've seen on Twitter after I've heard of him, apparently I've heard mixed reviews. I heard either he just like any other like independent source or whatever is either right or wrong, but apparently his hit record on West Ham isn't too bad. But if that news is true, it's a bit disappointing, especially with the quoted prices of both of them. Like me personally, I don't want both. I think both would be a waste of money,
Mm.
and even individually, I think what they're quoted at, I really don't fancy either of them. But if you're asking me if I had to choose one, which in this circumstance where we are currently in the window, I do believe one of them will be coming because with the stubbornness of Moyes and who he wants, which I don't really particularly criticize that because if he really thinks Maguire or McTominay or both improve the squad, hell, what do I know?
Yeah.
Working football, but I do think one of them will join. And if I had to pick one that I'd rather see at West Ham, for me personally, gun to my head, it'd be Harry Maguire. I think he would improve our squad, not significantly, but he'd be a great addition to the defense. As McTominay, in my opinion, is just a sideways step in the midfield. He really isn't an improvement on Suchek. He's not a defensive midfielder. So really, he would just be a solid depth option. But for 45 million pounds, that should he shouldn't be. If you sign someone for 45 million pounds, they should not be a depth option. And really, is he that much better than Suchek? I think that is a very good debate to be had.
Mm. For me, I'm going to agree. I think Maguire is not all that, but for us, he might be all right. Yeah, he might be all right. I think he's the sort of player that West Ham would love to have.
And
Like,
let's be honest, if Harry Maguire comes in, right, he is going to be one of our best players.
uh,
Easily top five. He's going to be one of the five best players at the
oh
club.
yeah, I'll give you top five. But like the way I look at it is, it's just not right. It's just not right. Let's be honest here. Like we shouldn't be wasting that 90 million pounds, which has been reported. So you're looking at 45 million each. Now, let's be honest here. like you can make of what you make of the source, yeah, if the source is genuine or not. But they have quoted Manchester United at 45 million for McTominay. And they have quoted, I think it was
40.
saying 40 for Maguire. Now you just don't know. And if West Ham are scrambling, and they look like they are scrambling because nothing's guaranteed, then it wouldn't surprise me. It just wouldn't surprise me. There's a lot of issues at West Ham, a lot of issues, a lot of problems, and I'm going to get into that when we get to David Moyes. But on this one, I agree with you 100%. Like 90 million for the pair of them, it just shows no plan, no plan. Like there's no plan there, is there? Let's be honest.
It's not so much the plan. It's just there's got to be better value for money out there, in my opinion. Like, I don't know, just I feel like I don't feel like enough people really like do their research into players, because like there's people that are saying that Jonathan Tah would be like an unreal addition. He'd be fantastic, but they scoff at Harry Maguire, which I get. If you don't rate Harry Maguire, that's fine, but to say that he's not better than Jonathan Tah, and Jonathan Tah, I'm not saying is a bad player either, but I just feel like
Yeah, but
I don't know.
You got to look at this though. Harwood Bellis, right, would be an ideal signing for West Ham. Young.
I agree, and I think
you know what I'm saying?
I think he'd fit the squad a lot more than Maguire, because I don't personally think we need, like, I love competition in the squad. Competition's good, but Harry Maguire is going to have to replace either Zuma or Gerd, and
or unless they play a free,
which we all do. I personally wouldn't want that. I don't think really anyone wants that, but he would realistically have to replace a Gerd or Zuma, and whoever he replaces, the other is not going to be happy. Zuma maybe could. Zuma won't be happy, but maybe he'd be a bit understanding, because he would also have to know, like, I am pretty injury prone, but he's really not going to think like that because he's a competitor. He wants to play. But again, that's a bit of a tricky one. As with Harwood Bellis, I think he would know exactly the role he's coming into. He knows that. I mean, Zuma turns 29 in a few months, and he's no spring chicken.
Yeah, but we all know Zuma won't last the season. Like, we all know that he will go down somewhere along the line. Do you know what I'm saying?
Also, and apparently it's been reported that I wish I remembered who it was, but apparently Harry Maguire said to someone, it was a source, that he was embarrassed by what we were offering for him. And I think that's really funny, because he's being linked with Everton, and he was saying he wants to go to a bigger club than West Ham. Like, and I'm not saying Everton is not a big club, but I mean,
not right now, they're not.
I mean, like, come on, we are in a much, in my opinion, we're in a much better place than Everton. Even though that's not saying a lot, I think we're in a better place than them. But the whole thing is a bit weird. And if that is true, I don't want Harry Maguire at the club, because that's just a bit of a piss take.
Well, basically, it becomes like Mr. Ego, isn't it? Like, there's someone of ego at the club. Like, what I don't understand is the plan, right? Do we need a 45 or 40 million pound centre half at West Ham? No.
Yeah,
I think we need a centre half at the club, and I will say that. And I agree with people who say we need a centre half, because we do, yeah. But do we need a 40 million plus centre half at the club? I don't think we do. I think Harwood Bellis is ideal. I think he's cheaper. I think Chalobah at Chelsea is a shout. I think if you could get him on loan to the end of the season, and with a view to a permanent at the end of the next season, he'd be ideal. I don't get the Maguire one. Right?
The way I think about it right now, when you look at our depth, we got Gerd and Zuma. Those are our two nailed-on starters when healthy. We got Ogbonna, who he's good for European group stage and to come in late in the match if we want to go 5 or 6 in the back, parking the bus, and we just want to clear everything out. He's perfect for that. Kerr, I think, is a good depth option if you want to play 3 in the back. He can obviously play right back, and there are certain matches where he can do the job as the second center half. But the one part in the depth chart, as we call it in America, that I think we lack in the defense. We are lacking that third center half that like he can break into the first team and be a
Yeah.
quality depth option in Europe. So like for me, Harry Maguire, in theory, is that perfect player because I think he's right now on the same level as a Garrett and Zuma. If like me and Alfie were having not really a debate this morning, but Alfie, not to like Alfie did say that he would come in immediately and be a top 3 player at West Ham. And I don't necessarily disagree, but to say he's been better than a Garrett and Zuma, especially with his stint at United, and I'm not counting England because I think international play is completely different than club level, but to say that he's better than a Garrett and Zuma currently, especially with his stint at United, I think that can be argued in a very good debate.
So the thing is,
but
right,
we need that third center half that has the quality to break into the first team. But if he doesn't, he's a very, very good backup option for rotation or in Europe. And yes, that is hard to find. That's very precise and very anal of me to say, but there are players like that out there. And obviously everyone has a price. Everyone thinks that their price or their value is better than someone else's, but I ultimately agree, like I would not spend 40 to 45 million on Harry Maguire. I think a very fair price, I've always said, is anywhere from 30 to 35. 35 may be a bit too expensive, but I think for both parties, I think 30 is incredibly fair because I don't think Harry Maguire is no mug. I think
30. I think 30 million is where I will go to if I wanted him. But then I do look at other options that are better options. Like I do. Like I look at people who are younger. I look at people who have got sell-on value. If you sign him for 30 million, you're not getting 30 million again for him. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think with Maguire, it just said like, yeah, in a low block. Alfie said something earlier on today. I made him right. If West Ham sitting in a low block, he's ideal because he's like a big shield, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? But I don't know with him. Like McTominay is another one. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get on to McTominay solely, but
yeah. But on Maguire, to round it up for me, is would I have him? Yeah. Would I have him for 40, 45 million? No, I wouldn't.
No chance.
Right. Not when I could go and probably get Chalobah at Chelsea, Harwood Bellis, who's a very, very good young player who's only going to go up rather than down. I just look at that and yeah, it's just not for me.
And my last comment on that is I don't blame Moyes for wanting Harry Maguire because when you really deep it, I think Harry Maguire would be good for the club because we do need leadership. We need more leaders in the dressing room, especially with people that are leaving, like Cresswell, who we'll get into a little later. But take away the price tag, obviously, I think Harry Maguire is a good addition, and I think Moyes has every right to want to try and pursue him. But of course, you can only pursue someone so long until it feels like either you're delusional or you're just a straight up stalker. And we're getting to that point now where it seems to be getting a bit too much. Like Maguire is just not worth what United are quoting him for. And again, just like every other West Ham transfer window, we might get Maguire, but we're going to have to pull tooth and nail, and it'll probably come at the very end of the window.
Yeah, I hear, mate. Listen, Thomas has put something in the WhatsApp group, mate. Have a look at that and tell me what you think, and I will carry on and talking about Scott McSauce McTominay.
See, when you say McSauce, like
yeah.
in America, when someone says they got the sauce, that's a good thing.
Well, he's got that ain't a good thing here. You know what I mean?
McTosh is what you should call him.
Oh yeah, McShot. The only thing I will say with him, yeah, is I just don't get the hype, mate. Don't get the hype whatsoever with Scott McTominay. I think Manchester United are not silly. That's one thing that Manchester United are not. They do not let players go they think are really, really good players. Yeah. Scott McTominay's been here, but he's only been at sort of Manchester United because Manchester United haven't sorted out their midfield. They've slowly started to sort their midfield out. Man, Ericsson, Casemiro, right? And that's why they're easing him out. For me, 45 million just absolute hurts. Just hurts when I hear
Yeah.
that. Like I just think how can anyone in their right mind value him at 45 million? Like,
even when you take, and again, I really don't like to get fixated on the price tag, but sometimes it's almost impossible not to be. But even when you take it away, I still don't think McTominay is that great. Like people criticize Suchek rightfully for his football inability. Yeah, I personally
yeah,
love him, but I'm not afraid to critique him or criticize him on the pitch because his flaws are very obvious, and he is a untraditional midfielder in my opinion, especially in today's game. But if you try to make the argument that Scott McTominay is an improvement on Thomas Suchek, I just don't see it. And I think there's an argument there to be had. Like, what really does Scott McTominay do? And I'm being literal here, better than Suchek. Like they both are very average defenders. What else was I gonna say?
I would say
poor,
Suchek covers more ground than McTominay.
they're poor passers of the ball.
Yeah, agree with that.
I think McTominay, the only thing he does better than Suchek, I would say he can drive forward with the ball a lot better than him. But really, that's about it. They're the same aerially. They're about.
No, I'll tell you, I think Suchek's better in the air than him. A lot better.
I actually think Suchek might be a little bit better defensively than McTominay.
Well, let's put it this way.
Terrible
let's put it this way. Suchek will throw his body absolute everywhere.
And I think McTominay can too. It's just he's such a sideways step. And
yeah,
I will say I think McTominay is probably a more natural finisher than Suchek. And I only say that because I've heard Scott McTominay used to be a striker coming through the Man U's academy, and now he's playing where he's played. So I will give him the edge on that. But Thomas Suchek obviously proved in his first season he's not too bad of a finisher himself. But last 2 seasons hasn't really showed that. But my overall point is Scott McTominay is such a sideways step if we're really looking to improve on the squad. And like I said, would he be a good depth option for the club? Yes. But you can't spend £45 million on depth. Could you imagine a midfield 3 of Suchek, McTominay, and Paqueta? That would be absolutely diabolical.
It would be, mate. It would
be. So again, like me personally, I don't think Scott McTominay is a good player. I think he's okay. And we go back to the whole Prem proven thing. Everyone has their different definition. And for me, by my definition of Premier League proven, he's not Premier League proven. He's just not. He is at best for me average. And being an average Premier League player, that doesn't make you Premier League proven. That means you've played in the Premier League. That doesn't mean anything else, in my opinion.
I'll get to Chris's comment here, yeah. Well, we shouldn't be talking about Suchek and McTominay. We should be talking about Fofana, McTominay, and Suchek.
But then again, people are, I've seen on Twitter with the whole Dennis Zakaria news, which we could probably touch on that a little bit while we talk about it. People are saying, "Oh, let's go after Fofana now." Like, mate, we need a 6.
Yeah.
Like Fofana isn't a 6, McTominay isn't a 6, Zakaria is a 6. My dream, well, not my dream, but ideally with the Tom, I will check the group chat, mate. I have terrible reception. Goodness, I'm being just stalked. But the point is, Zakaria is a 6, which I'm very disappointed that we're missing out on because my ideal setup for the value, thinking of the club, was Zakaria and Fofana. That for me, those 2 with Paqueta would be a very formidable midfield. And if Tom, if this is about Atalanta jacking the move for Gianluca Scamacca, that's
it's about Moyes.
Okay, then I will get to it after I'm done talking and when we get to the segment. But for me, to round it up, Scott McTominay, not good enough, average player, not Premier League proven. He's just not worth. Same as Maguire. Honestly, I don't think Scott McTominay is worth more than £25 million, and that's just me.
I think when you are pricing Scott McTominay at 45 and James Maddison goes for 40, was it? I'll just look at that and I think that's just a benchmark there. I know they're different positions, but they both play midfield. McTominay, he's just not 45 million. I don't care what anyone says. Like you could have chalk on there or stones or whatever. He still does not make 45 million pounds. I can't have it. Zakaria to Monaco from Juventus. The other day we keep hearing it's done, it's close, it's nearly there, it's edging closer. We are at a snail's pace at the minute, and we have got problems big time. I'm not on this with McTominay. Yeah, listen, whether they're Moyes' signings or not, yeah, it's not right. It's not right, and it definitely 100% isn't right. And if he goes for them, I can understand why people are pulling the plug and saying no to this, because £90 million for them to. Or if you say £80 million, because that's where I reckon it will probably go down to, right, with add-ons and everything else. Yeah, it's just not right.
Let's be honest. A fair price for the both of them would be anywhere from 60 to 70.
I'd say 70 million.
Yeah, and that's being incredibly fair.
Yeah, right. I think 90 million is just Manchester United are sitting there, right, and going, thank you, thank you very much. Right, do you know what I'm saying? But we're gonna move on from them too.
Should we get on? Do you want to get on to Aaron Cresswell or Moyes? Because Tom wants me to read this article so badly.
Right. Well, Tom can wait a minute. We will talk about Aaron Cresswell because last night there was a champion sort of dinner night ceremony. Cresswell wasn't there. He hasn't trained. What's going on with him, Lucas?
He hasn't trained for a week. Didn't go to France, was it? Against Rennes?
Yeah.
Wasn't at the champions ceremony dinner. You know what? I do not know. I'm a bit confused. And because of all the transfer news that's going on and stuff, what we've been hearing, I really don't want to say something that I could regret. Like, for example, Craig Dawson. Yeah, people were criticizing Craig Dawson for wanting to move, yada, yada, yada. But if you're on Twitter enough or you read the news enough, we all know why he wanted his move, right? There was a health issue within his family, and he wanted to be closer to his family, which I can totally respect. And Craig Dawson still practically trained. I think he didn't train for like a couple days, I think it was. Right?
Yeah.
I think he missed a match. A couple training sessions and a match. And with Cresswell, I don't know if that's the same scenario because there's not enough news. So I don't want to say anything I regret because I would feel really bad if I said what I said and it does come out later.
I'm sorry, but
he's moving for a family
I disagree on
issue or
I disagree completely on that. Yeah, he is a player who is paid by West Ham United. He should train, whether or not he likes it. He likes the circumstances.
No, I get that. I can agree with that, and everything can be handled in a certain way.
Because let's put it this way, Lucas. Yeah, let's put it this way right now. We start off next week. Yeah, we kick off against Bournemouth away. Emerson goes down injured. We've got no left back.
Yeah, what I was going to say basically, and this will be a not an advisory, but this is open to critique. And before I say it, 116 people in the chat right now watching this video. Please smash a like on the video. We're trying to get to 100 likes every video. Your participation is truly, truly incredible, and it does not go unnoticed. Love you all. But what I was going to say, and again, I'm open to critique because I don't know what's going on with Cresswell. But if it's just because he wants to move away from West Ham, it's a bit disgraceful for someone that's been at this club for 9 years. And
people, I'm just going to say this: people are blaming David Moyes for it. And I'm thinking, well, David Moyes is not telling Cresswell not to train. I just don't get the mentality of some people. Yeah, Aaron Cresswell should be training at West Ham United Football Club. Yeah, West Ham United Football Club are paying that man's wages right now. Yeah, so he should be professional enough to train and be professional, seek a move, and all that. right, and say I want to move, I want to move,
If
but
if
don't
this
down tools.
yeah, if this move has nothing, if his desire to move clubs has nothing to do with his family's health, or something like that, it's a bit disgraceful from him, especially like I said, because he's been here for so long, and people talking about a testimonial and stuff like that, yada yada yada. I get it. I do, and this is tarnishing his legacy a bit because
100%.
again, no one, as bad as it sounds, no one really remembers the start. It's all about how you end. And for me, Aaron Cresswell has been an incredible servant to this club. You don't get a lot of players that stay this long, but the way he's handling his exit right now is very disgraceful. And obviously, all the other stuff on the pitch that we remember, I try not to bring that up with him. But most importantly, the way he's handling this right now is definitely going to tarnish his legacy, and it's a bit disgraceful what he's doing.
I mean, I'm not being funny, yeah. I've just used that example there, right? We've got we've got two left backs at the club, yeah, right now, yeah. You can say Ben Johnson, you can say Tilo can go over to the left hand side, but if we play Bournemouth next week and Emerson goes down, yeah, we would call on Cresswell to come in, right, and do a job for us, yeah, because he's paid for West, right? He's being paid by West Ham United
This
Football Club.
champion ceremony, I think, was the last straw, because if he was there last night, we could probably debate the
Yeah, but
stipulation of it.
you make it like people are making it sound like Moyes has like done something to this geezer. They're sort of like made him sort of like act like this.
Yeah,
Like,
this is 1,000% a personal
and as
problem
I
with Aaron
say,
Cresswell.
and I do say this quite openly, I'm going to say it loud and clear. Yeah, for certain man, I don't want Moyes here. Right, I don't. Yeah, but you can't be blaming Moyes for Aaron Cresswell's actions. I'm sorry, you can't. Like, you know what I mean? It's just stupid. Do you know what I mean? People are blaming him. Oh, because
And Cresswell's been
Moyes.
through much worse than this 3-year stint with Moyes.
Do you know what I mean? It's just not. It's just not good. Yeah, he should have been there. He should be training. Like, fair enough, he doesn't like it, but he should be professional enough in his job to say, you know what, I'm going to remain professional. This
Yeah.
club have paid me over the last 9 years a lot of money.
Handsomely.
Yeah, and he's been an icon to certain younger fans. Like, some fans look up to Aaron Cresswell. How can we look at Cresswell now? A man who is down in tools, basically, in our, let's be honest, this is our dark moment at present, right? Because we don't know what's going on. Let's be honest. Like, and I say this quite openly on this channel, yeah. I'm only telling people what I'm hearing and what we're seeing on social media. Yeah. We have got no idea what's happening out there at West Ham in a minute. It doesn't look good, yeah, from the outside. From the outside looking in, it doesn't look good, right? But Cresswell should be professional enough.
That champion ceremony dinner is the icing on top for me. Like, if he's there, you can, like I said, if he's there, like, it's a bit different because he's celebrating one of the best moments in our club's history. But the fact that he's not there, he's missed a week of training, he didn't go to France for the friendly against Rennes, it's just an awful, awful, awful look.
It is bad. It is bad. But we'll move on from this and we'll go on to another major talking point that's happened over the last sort of hour and a half. And it's this man, David Moyes, may decide to leave West Ham at the Mail Sport. Lucas?
And something Tom has been spamming in the chat. Thank you for letting me know, Tom. There is an article that has just been released by The Athletic titled West Ham Advertising 7 Squad Positions on Online Transfers Marketplace. That's interesting. And I'm going to read it out for you all if you are not subscribed to Athletic. So you're welcome. Free article for you. And here we go. West Ham's increasingly desperate search for new signings has led the club to advertise for 7 squad positions on the website Transfer Room. The East London club are the only Premier League side not to have made a senior signing in this summer's transfer window, having sold captain Declan Rice to Arsenal for £105 million last month. I won't try and read it word for word. I'll summarize it. Tim Steiden was appointed as West Ham's new technical director. Yeah. David Moyes over his profile. Tensions between him and manager David Moyes over the profile of transfer targets being pursued, reported last week. Deals for Harry Maguire, James Ward-Prowse, Conor Gallagher, and Scott McTominay have all failed to progress, leaving Moyes' squad looking thin with the new season approaching. Now it has emerged that West Ham have advertised for 7 players on Transfer Room, an online marketplace where 650 clubs from across the globe can buy, sell, and advertise players. A bit sad. The positions posted by West Ham, which have been seen by The Athletic, are for a left back, center half, defensive midfielder, central midfielder, striker, winger, and a number 10. Jesus. The posts say that West Ham's budget for each position is £20 million, but makes clear they are also exploring the loan market. This is interesting. So, Tom, I'm sorry. Transfer room is widely used throughout the football industry as a way for clubs to highlight positions in which they are seeking to recruit or sell, but it is extremely rare for Premier League clubs to advertise on it. West Ham declined to comment when approached by The Athletic. Moyes ended West Ham's 42-year wait for a trophy by winning Europe Conference League. Blah, 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 blah. West Ham, who face Bayer Leverkusen in friendly on Saturday, also daunting fixture list at the start of the new season, which sees them take on Chelsea, City, Liverpool, and Brighton, as well as Bournemouth and a newly promoted Luton in their first 6 matches. Wow. Yeah, that is We'll move. Well, no, we might as well attack it. That is oh my
Stunned.
God.
Stunned.
If you have to use a web, I can't even. This is like the Facebook marketplace of transfers.
Facebook
and apparently we're the only Premier League club to be using this website. That is absolutely pathetic. And there's only one man who has done this, and that is David Sullivan.
Thank God. Thank God someone is with me on this.
It is an absolute disgrace. We have Tim Steiden right in the wings, and you're using some Transfer Room marketplace to advertise the players you need. Oh, don't worry, pal, as in Sullivan. Don't worry. Everyone knows what we need. Oh, that is an absolute disgrace.
I'm going to say this. Yeah. David Sullivan is the problem. He is the problem. I do not care what any man says about Moyes, because I don't want Moyes here. But whoever comes in and replaces Moyes, yeah, will have the same grief as what Moyes is having right now.
That is Sullivan. Exactly the point. And what bothers me the most is people, and let's not be around the bush. A lot of people that talk football, right? Rarely does anyone ever come across that, like, it's just an opinion. It's just my thought. Like, a lot of people try to say things in a way that they think they're right and the other person's wrong, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. That's just how some people are. But from what I've come across, most people are like that. People always try to say, and like I said, I just described the type of person who is saying this, that thinks they're always right about everything. People say we need to sack Moyes. And then you ask them, who do we replace him with? Oh, I don't know. That's not my job. Well, if you're so smart and you think you know everything, surely you have a replacement idea. But no, people never come up with an idea because they say,
but let's be honest here, right? And I'm going to invite people on in a minute, yeah? Because I want to hear what people have got to say about that, yeah? Who's going to want to work for David Sullivan?
No one.
Right? And what you said the other day, I sat back yesterday and people look at us like we're a bunch of mugs, me and you, right? And you got it absolutely spot on to the T. That Daniel Kadinsky was the man that got started in here, yeah? And it comes out that Daniel Kadinsky got started in it, yeah? But people won't listen to us because they think we're idiots. Yeah. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about, James. Do you know what I mean? You don't know what you're talking about.
I'm sorry, but an investor just doesn't do that.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I think if you want to call him an investor, that's fine. But I just don't think an investor makes that kind of investment with the shares that he has. Like
exactly that. And as we said the other day, his hands are tied because Sullivan calls the shots. And until Sullivan is gone, and a new owner is in place, Moyes won't last 5 minutes.
Any manager won't last. Like, again, the whole manager thing, in my opinion, like not like if you don't put any blame on Sullivan, like obviously people don't like Sullivan. People say like it's more Moyes' fault. I can't get behind that because
Moyes is stubborn, Lucas.
as we all know, last
Yeah.
season, and it came out, if Moyes did not beat Fulham, we would have brought in Slaven Bilic. And I love Slaven Bilic to the death.
Yeah.
I will fight for him. I will go to war with him. He's a fellow Balkan boy, as I am.
Right.
But that would have been absolutely disastrous. And then people saying that we need to sack Moyes now. Mate, if we sack Moyes right now or he leaves, we are finito, in my opinion. This is something that it had to happen after the parade. If we do this now with a month left in the transfer window or whatever it is,
right?
If we do that now, and we have to bring in a new manager, we are absolutely screwed. We're done.
Right. Listen, I agree. Yeah. Before I bring Steve in, Steve, please do not swear. We're on swear jars at the minute. You know what I mean? So I will say that. Yeah. But I'm just going to say this. Right. When you look at the ownership of the club right now, yeah, and people look at Moyes, yeah, if Sullivan was a good owner, Moyes would have been gone.
And like we said many times, is it a bad look if he were to sack him after winning our first major cup or our first European silverware in 43 years? Absolutely. It would have been a bad look. But an owner is supposed to make the tough decisions for the best of the football club.
Listen, I agree on that. Yeah, I do. Right.
Kretinsky, I'm telling you right now as well, Kretinsky would have done it.
100%. Kretinsky would have sacked Moyes after the Leicester game last season. And that's the point. That's the point. As much as we don't agree with certain decisions, if we look at it in the scope of what is best for the future of the club, I think we can all come to a compromise. You know what I mean? That's what life's about, compromise, or relationship in general, compromise. And whether we agree with it or not, we can respect that to a certain point. And Sullivan he loves to create chaos naturally and in his own way, like unintentionally and intentionally. He's an absolute crook. I agree, mate. I
want to ruck with him right now.
Well, listen, I'll keep having arguments with people saying one or the other. Yeah, for me, Moyes has to go. He's not the man to push West Ham onto the next level, i.e., consistently over a long period of time and play a better style of play. But you've got to look further up the mountain, and I am getting tired now. I keep saying it because every action, right, is a reaction, right?
Yeah.
And from that reaction is Sullivan. Sullivan's the one who's the puppet on the string. If Sullivan. Oh, let me land, Lucas. Yeah. If Sullivan cared, Moyes would have been gone, right? He would have gone, right, thanks, Dave. Right, last season wasn't a good season, but you've delivered us a trophy. What more can Moyes do now? Yeah. The only way for me, in regards of what I feel, is down for Moyes because he can't reach that. Right. The only way he could do better than what he done last season.
It's hard to get better with the position he's in. And the last thing I wanted to say was on this headline we made, David Moyes may decide to leave. I honestly would not blame him if he left because the situation that David Sullivan has put him in and Tim Steiden in is I would find acceptable for either one of them to walk away. I'm not saying I side with one of them or the other, but when you break it down man to man, person to person, woman to woman, child to child, nobody wants to bicker with each other and have someone tell them what to do. At the end of the day, you either come together or you go your separate ways. You know what I mean? Right. I don't want Moyes blocking Steiden's targets. I don't want Steiden blocking Moyes' targets. There has to be a compromise. And what David Sullivan has created at this club is disgraceful. And that is what's happening right now.
And the thing is, just to say this, Sullivan doesn't want to sack Moyes. Sullivan wants Moyes to walk. He does. He wants Moyes to walk.
So bad.
Yeah, right. And that's what he's doing. He's forcing Moyes into a corner to make it so unbearable that Moyes says, you know what, that's enough. Yeah. Disgusting. from him. He really is. Right, let's get Steve in. Steve, what do you want to say, mate?
Steve, hope you're well, mate.
Good afternoon, James and Lucas. Got any positives for me at all, fellas?
I would love if you brought some positivity.
Do you know what, right? I'm an old... I nearly said the F word there, James, but I stopped because I'm not Mitchell, right?
Good man.
Do you know what? In 52 years of supporting this club, we are a joke, people. We are a big joke. You know that?
Yeah.
A big joke. This is the worst it's ever been. The only team in the Premier League not to sign a player. And Moyes' targets, Maguire, JWP and McTominay. Really? And he don't rate Fofana. Apparently so. You know? And we just know we're going to get I won't say the S word, S-H-I-T, but we're going to get the same boring football, boys, as last year. And it's just going to be perfect. I can't believe I watched the show last night when you was doing your Premier League tables. I think we're going to be lower than that, James.
I think, personally, we're going to be about where we finished last season. Yeah. Right now, yeah, I do. I think we've got enough firepower in there. Bowen will score goals. Like Antonio, if he stays, he'll score goals.
I said last night, 17th to 10th is, in my opinion, an absolute coin flip. It's just West Ham are the best, crappiest club, if that makes sense. We're the best of a bad bunch in that mid-table.
The thing is,
but how can you let Scamacca go? Who's going to get the goals?
I know, mate. I know, but
like Danny Ings and Antonio ain't got 10 goals between them, fellas.
Yeah,
I know. Well, the thing is, Steve, I'm going to ask you this, who is more to blame on this? Is it Moyes or is it Sullivan? Because for me, Sullivan employs Moyes. Yeah, so Sullivan needs to make the call, really. He needs to stand back, go, is this right for West Ham United Football Club right now? Yes or no? Right, so who is to blame? Is it one or is it the other one?
No, with me, the buck stops at Sullivan, mate. The buck stops with him. And like I keep saying on whatever channels I go on, we are never going to progress as a club as long as he's in charge. End of story.
Regardless
we all know
of
that.
Any opinion on or off the pitch.
We all know that. We all know that, fellas. You know?
Yeah, it's not good, mate.
Moyes should have. Well, I heard you on one of your shows the other day, right? And Moyes should have walked after the final, but he ain't going to walk, is he? We all know he ain't going to walk. You know what I mean? Yeah, definitely. But how can he not rate? Did you watch Fofana against Arsenal?
Yeah, I did.
Brilliant.
Apparently, Moyes don't rate him.
I've seen.
Steve, you've been reported for nudity.
Sorry about the bare chest, everyone. No, James, I've just come back from the Moon and Stars in Romford, and you should have heard the West Ham fans in there all moaning about the same thing, mate. Because I had a West Ham top until it.
That's a good gaff. I like the Moon and Stars.
No, mate.
Yes, it's good fun.
It's never too early to have a pint. Steve, before I let you go, mate, 'cause I've got about 4 other people want to come on.
By the way, can I just say, sorry, James, interrupt you. With a midfield of Dans and Souček and a striker up top in his own Antonio Rings, I can see a drubbing at Bournemouth, boys. I'm telling you.
I'm nervous about Bournemouth, mate, because if we get done there, then I'm nervous.
Chelsea will be a 5-0 home defeat. I'm telling you.
I'll believe anything you tell me at this point because I'm lacking any sort of positivity.
Right, I'm gonna let Steve go. Steve, thanks for coming on, mate.
Cheers, boys. See you later, fellas.
Take care, man. Right, that's
Absolute
him.
Legend.
Right, I tell you what, I will get in Sir Daddy, then I'll get the other two in together.
Yeah, we'll go in order.
So, Daddy, talk to me. Do not swear, otherwise you're sacked.
No swearing, please.
I'm not swearing. I'm not someone called Mitch.
Fair enough. What do you want to say, Sir Daddy?
But firstly, on Aaron Cresswell, he is a disgrace.
He wanted to say it there.
He is a disgrace. Lucas, it's not about his family. Wolves offered him a 2-year contract with an option for a 3rd year, and it's about the money. It's not about his family. He's just a greedy man. I want to say a swear word so badly.
Just beep yourself. Just go beep beep.
He's a greedy little beep. Clown. He's a clown.
No,
Oh,
I agree, and I've seen that as well. But again, I always side on the air of caution just in case. But I've seen that as well, and like I said earlier, if that is the actual case, I agree with you. It's an absolute disgrace. It's embarrassing.
And then the report that we're using this website for the players.
How bad is that?
Oh my God! This club, man. And then people still think Moyes is the main problem. For those who think that, check yourself. It is
Beep,
not. It is not David Moyes' fault. The past 3 seasons, Moyes has done it, and despite David Sullivan has held him back. In my opinion, we will never go further than with David Moyes as long as we have David Sullivan. He is the worst owner in the league.
I absolutely agree with you, mate. Listen, I'm just tired now.
And there are people who think we're going to sign someone before Bournemouth. No, I will be surprised if we have someone in before the Bournemouth game.
Yeah, I was going to say Zakaria was going to be my one that I thought was going to come in before, but now that is not looking the case.
No.
We look in trouble.
But this is even worse. If Downs or Souček get injured at Bournemouth, we're going to have to roll Connor Coventry in the midfield. He's literally a League One player. And he may have to play serious minutes for us.
Yeah.
Right. So, Daddy, I'm going to let you go because I've got a few other people. Take care of yourself, man. Right.
Thanks,
keep breathing, please. Right. Let's get this man here. And Tay.
Afternoon, fellas. I've been watching it. Yeah, I've been watching your talk. It's very understandable, isn't it? I'm always typically the person who is on the side of caution. I'm very laid back when it comes to things, but I think this time the panic is quite justified, especially after it's just come out that we're looking on basically the Facebook marketplace of fucking online sites, players.
Mate, it is 9:18 in the morning, yeah, and me hearing that news, like my day already was like very meh because it's cloudy outside. I went on my 2-mile walk. Like today was okay, but then that's just like a slap in the face of the prestige of our club.
But it's just but the problem is who does that fall on? Like because that feels like it just feels Sullivan.
I'm telling you now.
There's no way it's Moyes. He doesn't know how to operate a computer.
Sullivan was sat there this morning with his little legs dangling off his chair.
His little stubby fingers.
Email after email, asking who's available. He's done it since 2010, and he continues to do it today. He's never going to change.
If not, we're going to go after a PSG player on loan.
The reason why, Moyes is still here because Sullivan doesn't like sacking managers. That is the reason.
You know why? Because he's cheap.
Well, we've got the lowest manager turnover, I think, or if not one of the lowest manager turnovers in the league. If you look at our history of managers, it's much shortened. You look at the likes of Chelsea; they've probably changed managers more in the last 2 years than we've changed in 10. Yeah, it's a lot. But the only thing that I would say, put to you, James, is I'm really not trying to get at you here either, but it's a genuine question. If we were to sack Moyes tomorrow, do you genuinely believe Sullivan is going to go out and appoint somebody adequate or more than adequate, capable of doing the same, if not more, of what Moyes has done? Do you genuinely believe he can do that?
I don't trust
James, but I say no.
I don't trust Sullivan. I never have. Yeah, will Sullivan do the right thing and go out and find a better manager of higher status? No, he won't. He just won't do it.
And another thing to think about, while I'm going to keep my narrative consistent with Steiden, and that I really like Steiden and I like what he offers, and I love that he's at the club. Even if you give him the opportunity to hire someone or give the suggestion of who to hire, right? He's going to bring in someone who's most likely never managed in the Premier League on a whim. You know how dangerous that is?
Well, let's just talk even in fantasy land, Lucas. Let's say if Steiden lines up Xavi Alonso for an appointment, he comes in, he sits down, and I guarantee
he's
no
got a week.
manager is working under
The
Sullivan.
only way
He's
not working under Sullivan. It's not happening.
right? The only way that happens for me is if Kadinsky says that's the man I want to take over from David Moyes, and Sullivan is looking to sell the club.
But
That's the only way.
The thing is, when you get into the logistics of buying and selling a club, it's so murky because none of us have any idea.
It's not. I don't think he's going to sell the club, Sullivan. But if he could make Kadinsky the majority shareholder, so then the stuff lies on Kadinsky then. Because what me and Lucas said the other day, and people laughed at us, yeah, right? I see it on Twitter. And I was like, and then an article comes out about 12 hours later saying that Kadinsky's the man who's brought Steiden in. Kadinsky's here, mate. He's the one who's going to buy the club. I've always said it. But people say he's an investor. Rubbish. Because you can only have 20 Premier League clubs, and West Ham's not a bad attraction. He's got enough money to buy West Ham, and if he needs another investor, he can go to Saudi or anywhere, or Qatar, and find people. Right?
Personally, I disagree. I feel as though Kretinsky has little to no impact on the logistics of the club, be that appointments or any transfer business. I feel as though he's just there as a shareholder, and he's there to front up money when asked.
I don't think so, Tay. I really don't, mate.
But if you look at it holistically, if you look at every single business that he's ever bought, bar Sparta Prague, he's always taken a less than 30% shareholder. He's never gone full hog. He doesn't own things. He typically just owns pieces and portions to sell on, which is fair.
I understand what you're saying. There. I do, yeah. But I don't think he's going to just allow another owner to come in and take over. But I just don't get that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I can agree to an extent, but again, I really have no idea. I don't know, Sullivan's plans. Obviously, I do believe that he's looking to sell up at some point. But to be honest, I couldn't talk to you about that. I don't think any of us can really understand what the future of the club is in that regard, because we just don't see. There's just conversations that we're not present to, and we never will be.
For me, I break it down like to its foundation, really. Like, did Kretinsky hire Tim Steiden? No, he didn't hire him because he's a minority shareholder. But did he make the suggestion? Did he push for Steiden to come to this club? I 1,000% believe it, regardless of if he wants to become majority or whatnot. Because I do agree, even if you're a minority investor, you don't want your investment to go to crap, right? But like, I don't know. I think, and again, it does get twisted a bit when saying or using terms like owner and majority shareholder, because I would agree technically. I don't think Kretinsky wants to outright own the club. I think there is some hope that he wants to be the majority shareholder, but not outright own the club.
Yeah,
I agree on that.
I don't know. Foundationally, there's just no way Sullivan brought in Steiden on his own accord, because the man is not a football mind.
Mm.
The one thing I've got to say, I mean, before I'm sure you've got other people to get in, but for me, David Moyes has always been the man that's restructured this club. He's taken it from Sullivan's absolute clown.
He's worked with what he's had.
Clownish antics of sending emails out at fucking hours before the transfer window shut.
That's £1, Tay. Lovely.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I'll send a super chat later for you. What's it? But yeah, no. David Moyes has brought stability to this club in the way that he was able to distribute staff into roles that Sullivan had always taken on to himself. He's brought that. I think he's done so well with the budgets that he was given by last year's. I think that he's had the odds stacked in his favour in most of his roles in his football career. And I feel that in losing Moyes, even that is when I would genuinely fear for the club, because for me, David Moyes is stability, and I think so long as we've got Sullivan, I can't see any manager doing not even coming close to what Moyes has been able to achieve with the squad that he's had and the backing that he's had from Sullivan. So that's my piece on that. And I'm sure you can agree to an extent, and I understand your views on Moyes is more just towards
listen.
approach.
What you're saying, right? Listen, I'm going to say this. Yeah, I agree with you slightly. Yeah, he's done very well. He saved us. He got a 6th. He got a 7th. He got us to a semi-final. He got us to a final. He won the final. I can respect him to a point, right? Do I think his time's up at West Ham? Yes, I think his time is up.
I think that's fair. If anyone has
Right.
that opinion, I think that's fair.
Right, and that's what I think. I think his time is up. I think he can't do any more, right, than what he's already done. Yeah. When I look at him and I look at Sullivan and I see people comparing the two, I just can't believe it. I go,
Yeah.
Sullivan just does more damage than Moyes has ever done. Like, and that is, listen,
Facts.
and people's opinions on Moyes, I understand it. Like, if you back Moyes, I get your side of the argument. Look what he's done. I look at the side of the argument where people say Moyes out.
Good
yeah,
man.
I get that argument. Yeah, and I'm on the attitude of I can understand why he's here because Sullivan won't sack him. Yeah, and Sullivan hasn't got the bottle to sack him. Yeah, because it looks bad on Sullivan. So what he'd do, in my honest opinion, now anyone who in the chat who agrees with me or not, is I think Sullivan's trying to make it so unbearable that Moyes walks. And he's
I
proving
agree on that. I do agree on that. I believe that he is trying to set him up for maybe just not. At least at the bare minimum, he's
got a hit out on him, bro.
to be a scapegoat. If all goes wrong next season, he's got his scapegoat there in Moyes, and it's ready to go. And the fans will get behind it because that's the face of West Ham. They hear David Moyes in the media. They hear David Moyes doesn't want to settle on targets. They hear that David Moyes isn't negotiating and getting deals done. He's the person being put into the press, and that's all Sullivan. Because where do the leaks come from? If not from Steiden, if not from Noble, it's Sullivan all over.
Yeah.
But what I must ask you, James, in a final question is: I know you have the opinion that Moyes can't do any more, but do you have the opinion that any manager that Sullivan brings in can do any more than Moyes? I can't even see them being able to bring the stability that Moyes brings, and that's why I'm so confident on Moyes and keeping him. And
that I do agree with you on. Well, I don't agree with you on a lot of things today, but on that I do. I don't trust Sullivan. I don't trust Sullivan to do the right thing. I never have. Like, let's be honest. Sullivan got rid of Moyes before the first time. Thought he could go and find it better. Got stung with Pellegrini. Brought Moyes back, yeah. I don't like the way Moyes plays football. I don't like the setup and everything like that. But that's an opinion-based thing, yeah. But for me, I don't trust Sullivan as far as I can throw him. I really don't. And I've said this for a long time, yeah. And it's a fact, right? If we was to go and get rid of David Moyes, right? If Kudinski was in charge, Kudinski would plan. Yeah, he would plan out how he wants to go around it. Sullivan will go out and try and find the cheapest manager possible. Yeah, whether that's Potter, whether that's someone else who's not connected to a club, that's what Sullivan does because Sullivan likes cheap. And also, what people got to understand before I let you go is that Sullivan will want this manager on his terms. Yeah, i.e., a yes man, someone who does as they're told, basically. And a proper manager who is like a winner, so to speak, will want to do it on their terms, not on what the owner of the club's terms. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's just me on that.
In all, I think the one final thing we can agree on is that it's a big fucking mess.
That's another pound, hey?
Oh God, sorry.
Right,
£2 super chat incoming. Right, thank you for having me on.
Thank you very much, mate. Take care.
Thank you,
please.
Stay safe.
Right. Let's get he's out of there. Right. I'm gonna let him on. Yeah. West Ham Online can wait, but I'm gonna let him on because he's a West Ham fan and he's got stuff to say. So I'm gonna allow him to speak. Do not troll, Elite, because I'm not in the mood. I really am not. Elite.
Elite, how are you?
Good evening, guys. Good afternoon. Good morning.
I hope you're safe. I hope you're well.
Thank you. Yeah, my missus drove the car into a wall. It was only a rental, so it don't matter. But yeah, it was quite funny. West Ham, James, what do you think?
I'm just tired, mate. Do you want me to be honest, Elite? Now, some things I agree with you on with Moyes, and then some things I don't. But I do look further up the mountain and I look at the owner. And I think the way it is carrying on now is borderline a joke. Let's be honest. Whether you are Moyes
Much
in,
respect to Tay for the
Yeah.
swear jar contribution.
right? Whether you're Moyes in, Moyes out, whatever, or if you're on the fence, there has to be a direction, and there is none at West Ham at the minute.
Well, look, I think
that was it.
Oh, no, maybe not. I think. Sorry, we're just looking for a tow truck. Listen. I think right now everyone's a bit frustrated because we've not signed anyone. I think that's what it boils down to. And I think whenever we have these rumblings about transfers and stuff, it always inevitably comes back to Sullivan, as does a lot of West Ham rhetoric, fairly or unfairly. I think in this case, it's probably. Look, I think anytime you got a manager and a technical director trying to pull the club in, a different direction each way, it's never going to sit well. And I think, to be honest, I think the one criticism I have of Sullivan, and it's a key criticism, to be fair, I got many, but the major thing is he didn't back Moyes. He didn't give Moyes that new contract after winning the final. Yep. He sort of said, you've got a year to prove yourself.
Mm.
After he just accomplished something that we could have never dreamed of currently.
Yeah, absolutely. I personally would have given him the new contract, but I think with the fan rumblings, I think he wanted to see what it was like in the new season, and it looks like it's not going to be great.
Even if it was just an extra year.
I just want to say
it didn't have to
one
be
thing.
a 3 or 4 year contract.
I just want to say one thing, right, Lee? I like you, but can you turn your indicator off? Someone's just said it.
Yeah. Sorry, it's the hazard lights. Actually, it's quite serious. We got them off. No, sorry about that. Yeah, work it out. I'll step outside. The problem is, who is in charge? Do you know what I mean? I think. The problem we had last window is we spent a hell of a lot of money, and we spent money on players that just weren't good enough. And I think Steinleit's come in to sort of stop that happening, like 16 million on Flynn Downs, nearly 20 million on Kera, I believe, stuff like that. He's coming to sort of bring a bit of sense and sensibility into these proceedings. But then it leaves the question, who's in charge of the marquee signings? Is it Steinden? Is it Moyes? Because it looks like it's Steinden, but, it's got it right. If he signs players for Moyes shouldn't have to deal with that. He's ended that trophy doubt. We've seen the parades, the open-top bus parades for Moyes' tricky hammers. He shouldn't have to deal with this man parting players onto him. He should be able to make his own decisions.
Like I said earlier, the situation shouldn't even be happening in the first place, because at the end of the day, everyone has some sort of ego, even myself. I like to say I don't, but everyone has a little bit of ego or a huge ego. And at the end of the day, another man does not want to be told what to do, regardless of what it is. That's just in our nature. I don't want Fever telling me what to do. I don't want Alfie telling me what to do. I don't want my father or my mother to tell me what to do, because I'm a grown man. But it's the same with anything else. No one wants to be told what to do. It should always come to a compromise all the time. And obviously that's perfect world thinking, but I mean, I guess we can dream.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think there's a lot of talk about West Ham as a business, and I think West Ham as a circus as well. And I've never bought into that narrative, really. I've never been GSB out and stuff. I think if you look at their years for the club, it's been successful, comparing them to different owners in the past. Listen, that's controversial. But I think right now it's very childish, isn't it? And I love Moyes, and I'm not going to criticise him. But he's a bit saying, listen, I want my players. Stop handing me these guys. Yeah, I don't want them. I've said I don't want them. Stop trying to sign them. I'm not gonna play him if you sign him, which is a bit childish. But then this Steinden's fella, who he's been successful in the past, but he's not earned his stripes at West Ham. he's just because he's technical director and he can stop transfers from happening. He's going all Billy Big Bollocks. Oh, you don't want my players? Well, I don't want yours. And I think that's where Sullivan's got to step in, isn't it? It's embarrassing, really.
1,000% agree.
I was going to say this, yeah. Where is the line though with you, Elite, in regards to this though? Because there has to be a cut-off point somewhere along the line. Like there has to be, like with Moyes and Sullivan and Steiden, there has to be something because we can't carry on going around right here. Like someone, I don't know whether you heard it before you come on, but they're advertising for players. Do you know what I mean? Like a Facebook marketplace, that's literally embarrassing. Like Premier League club is searching for players on a transfer website.
Well, look, I think that's a bit. I tweeted something recently. If you go on the Transfer Room website, there's tons of other sort of sporting directors and people saying that they've used this before. You know, this is an exclusive network. It's not a social media. They've not like put it on LinkedIn. For example.
Apparently, from The Athletic, from what they said about it, is that West Ham are the only Premier League club to be using this software or website, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's basically, it is a bit like LinkedIn, but for all the top directors, which I think is, obviously it doesn't sound good that we're using it, but listen, if it helps us sign players, I've got no problem with it. Personally, I think it comes down to where the fans feel, who should be empowered. Right, I'm sorry, I'm not wording long day, but what I do believe, this is not the finest elite analyst sort of takes. I'm going to end on this. But what I do believe is all fans' loyalty should be with David Moyes first, the man who's ended a 43-year trophy drought, done what no other manager this century has been able to do, okay, and getting us Europe 3 times in a row. Mm-hmm. Seriously good manager, okay? And then secondly, I'd say it's David Sullivan, who's pumped loads of money into the club over the years, saved our club. And then thirdly, my loyalty would then be with Tim Steiden. I think Steiden, this window, needs to get over himself. Maybe he can have one signing, but then he can earn his stripes in the coming windows, okay? When we have a bit more agreed. He needs to step back and say, Moyes, you know what? I do trust you. Ward-Prowse, let's get him in, for example, okay? He needs to step back. That's what I think. I'll leave it there. Thank you, James.
No worries,
have a lovely day. David Moyes, 43 years.
Stay safe, Elite.
Take care of yourself, mate. I must admit, sometimes the league speaks very, very well, and then sometimes he don't. But this man is on, and that is West Ham Online. Welcome.
Good evening.
Afternoon. What do you want to say? Because I've heard rumours that you're an Arsenal fan on the quiet. So what do you want to say?
I want to say that Moyes is club saviour. We need to give our respect, firstly, to David Moyes. Secondly, I think the software thing, I'm not too bothered about it. At first, I was like, what the hell? But
I wouldn't say I'm bothered, but I think I use the word disgraceful. I do think it's disgraceful, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it, if that makes sense.
I've read into it. Apparently, Roma and Brighton have used it at times. Brighton don't anymore. Roma do. Other clubs in Europe use it. So I think it's just a mountain out of a molehill. I think the disagreement between Steiden and Moyes is a bit of a mountain out of a molehill as well, because apparently they were in high spirits last night. I was
going to mention that as well.
I think we've become an easy target for the media. They know there's a couple of problems and they're going a bit over the top now. And our fans are obviously eating into it because we haven't got a signing. Sullivan's the clear issue. He doesn't have a clue what he's doing. He never has done. I will agree with Elite on one thing, that when he first came in, he did save the club. But now, last 5 years or so, I can't remember, apart from giving money to the club, he's not really done anything positive, which is just because he doesn't have a clue about football. But Timothy, as Elite said, Timothy needs to take a step back and trust David Moyes. And I've just seen a good tweet by someone I trust. He's actually a manager himself. He's a good sporting person. His name on Twitter is actually SebC _ 14K followers. He's reacted to Mail Sports' article about David Moyes' position being under threat. And he's really find this ridiculous. I'm not in favour of an omniscient manager picking the signings. But Moyes has coached 1,000 games, knows the Premier League and what happens during games better than anyone.
That is what I've been saying, or not been saying, but I've alluded to that, and so is Alfie, and so is many people many times. And we're not slating Tim Stein in any way, but to say that like Tim Stein is a superior football mind in theory to Moyes, who's managed over 1,000 Premier League matches, is silly in my opinion.
I also think that
and again, I'm not saying Stein is not smart, but I'm just saying to say that Stein is smarter than a Premier League manager who's managed over 1,000 matches is a bit. That's a bit of an insult in my opinion.
I understand that, but then who's sanctioned Tim Stein to be here? Because
no, but he's only the technical director, isn't he? He's not the manager. I don't get when people say, "Oh, the technical director should make the signings and the manager should work with what he gets." What a terrible strategy that is. Why on earth would a manager want players at the club that he doesn't want?
It would be a bit different. Say if Slaven Bilic was here, and again, I'll always reiterate how much I love him. It'd be different if Slaven Bilic was here with Steiden, because Slaven Bilic has not managed 1,000+ Premier League matches. Slaven Bilic still is I wouldn't say fresh. I wouldn't even call him a veteran. He's managed in the Premier League. And then when you stack that up against Stein, Stein does seem more of the footable mind. You know what I mean? There's got to be a respect there, I think.
I don't know. Yeah, but the thing is, it's on Sullivan though, mate. Because I'm not.
No, it is. But what I'm saying is the whole thing with Stein versus Moyes that people are doing, which shouldn't be happening. People are treating Stein like he's some second coming of Jesus. He's the greatest football mind that's ever walked the earth, and Moyes hasn't done anything.
The thing is, just to say this, David Moyes has got to improve on last season's Premier League finish.
Agreed.
That's one thing he has to do, right?
We can't hard to do that now.
Yeah, but I don't know. If you ask me right now where are West Ham heading, I have got no idea. Because I look at West Ham right now and I see conflict upstairs, which will go all the way down to the pitch. Yeah, you got players that are refusing to train. Yeah, people are blaming Moyes for that. When I look at the player and think, well, hold on a minute, the player should do the right thing, and he's being paid by West Ham United Football Club, not by David Moyes. So I'm tired, mate. And I'm going to be real. I'm tired of this ordeal now. Right, David Sullivan, right, should do the right thing, but he doesn't know how to do the right thing. The man, yeah. What he should do, in my honest opinion, is if this Steiden bloke was here. Yeah, and was coming in, and Moyes knew the direction, and now Moyes is going against it. Then Sullivan has to make a decision. You either go with Moyes from Sullivan's angle, or you let Moyes go. You can't have it both ways. You just can't.
It would have been,
and if no one can agree on that, you're absolutely deluded.
And this is the argument I keep having people. Now people keep going at Moyes and he's the Antichrist. Basically, he's the worst person to ever face ever walk into West Ham. I'm not on that narrative. Do I like Moyes? No, I don't. But I don't see how it's all on him. I really don't. And I look at Sullivan and I think Sullivan said it after the final on the 8th of June. He come out, he tried to set it he's trying to flog our best player, and he made it quite categorically clear that David Moyes will be here for as long as he wants to be. So that's basically telling everyone, and loud and clear, that I will not sack David Moyes. So what he's doing is he's making it so unbearable and hard, right, for Moyes to basically go to Moyes. Right, I'm going to walk. And that's it. Yeah, because I can't deal with this. Yeah, because Sullivan hasn't got the bottle or the audacity to go and sack him. It's as simple as that.
I think as well, it would have been mightily different if Moyes was the one who just come into the club and the technical director was already here.
1,000%.
Then I'd be like, yeah, fair enough. If the club's already put in a strategy where the manager that comes in has to work with the technical director, then obviously that's fair enough. But that's not what things are. Moyes has proven his worth, and suddenly Sullivan's gone, here you are. work with this guy. We don't know what Moyes' opinions are on it. And it should be Moyes with Steidten if that's what Moyes wants to do, not Moyes against him. And if Moyes doesn't want that, Sullivan either needs to sack Moyes or go with what the manager wants. He either has to back his manager or sack him.
I love the testaments being echoed because it just I'm a fan of rational thinking. I'm a fan of natural thinking. Like it shouldn't take much to come to that conclusion. It should be a compromise. And if your vision does not align with the football clubs, something needs to be done. You shouldn't keep a wounded dog hurt. Put it out of its misery.
And that's basically what it is, right? I feel, the more I look into this, I just feel Moyes is being backed up into a corner, basically, and basically his hands being forced, basically, to say, right, you either do what we say or you can walk. And then what it is with Moyes, and I hope that we can all agree on this, is Moyes is being very stubborn in his approach. Whereas has Moyes ever walked away from a job before? Can anyone tell me? I don't think he has.
No, I don't think so.
I think he's been sacked he's never sort of walked of his own accord. Yeah. There should be a meeting. There should be a mutual agreement to say, like, both parties want to go separate ways, not a sacking, because a sacking looks bad on his record and it looks bad on Sullivan. And that's why Sullivan won't sack him, because it will look bad on Sullivan.
And what you said at the beginning, that mentality, that should have happened after the parade, not now. Because if that happens now, we're done. We will if we sack Moyes right now and bring in someone new, whether it's Sullivan's suggestion or Kretinsky's suggestion or Steidten's suggestion, we will be fighting relegation. 1,000%.
Also, I will not. If we start the season poorly, most of the blame from me is going to go to Sullivan. I know a lot of people will blame Moyes, and if his tactics are poor and we're sitting off at Bournemouth away, for example, then yes, I can advocate for that.
1,000%. It's so easy in my opinion, it's so easy to decipher, like, just what's to blame. Like, if for me, it's easy to tell if Moyes has got it wrong or if the players are just absolute crap, as Alfie likes to say.
Lucas, Moyes does not want to go to Bournemouth away with his starting midfield being Flynn down and Thomas Suchet, but he has to. Yeah. So,
see, someone said that. I think Sam said that to me the other day. Funny enough, right? If Moyes wants a player, why is Moyes being stopped from getting that player if that's the player he wants?
That's another great argument to be had, honestly.
Like, Moyes has left 2 clubs apparently. But
he left 2
one
clubs.
of them was Everton for Man United. It weren't because he was doing bad.
He left because they got a better job, basically. Like, the way I look at it is if you, yet again, right, I'm going to say this quite openly, right, because I've had rows on Twitter all day with people who are massive Moyes out people, like he's the Antichrist, like he's the worst man to ever grace West Ham in the East End of London. I get why you're angry, but your anger should be 1,000 times
directed elsewhere.
It should be higher up the mountain to the geezer who will not sack him because he doesn't want to look bad.
And it's going to have to come out of his own pocket.
And it will be. And that's what it is. It's because if he sacks him, he's going to have to give him compensation, isn't he? Yeah. That's only a year. But Sullivan's very old school. He's like, well, I've got him on this contract. And Sullivan's attitude is this, people, got 110 people in the chat. Please do smash a like on the video, right? Because I'm tired now. Like, I'm really getting angry with it, is that Sullivan's attitude is basically, I'm going to keep him here for a year. If he keeps us in the league, that's job done, and I can get rid of him. It does not cost me a penny.
It's so much more that, and we can all agree that is just so much more toxic than just pulling the nail out and sacking a manager, even though people think it's the wrong decision.
Basically,
after what just happened.
Basically, in a sort of medical sort of way, if you've got cancer, you've got to stop it from spreading. And it's spreading at the minute. It's spreading everywhere. And that's the problem. And if we start the season the way we are 8 days out, people. Yeah, 8 days from the start of the season, and we done it like it's just mayhem. It's just clear and utter mayhem, and I
Right.
just do not understand it.
James, Paqueta's had an injury recently. Let's just say he gets injured tomorrow. How do you feel? Does this sound preferable to you? A midfield three of Flynn Downs, Thomas Souček, and Connor Coventry at Bournemouth.
It's not good enough, Alf. It's not good. Listen. Me and you have had many debates on this channel about Moyes. Massive debates, massive arguments. We've done it. We've had a lot of stuff happen on this channel with me and you. Yeah, and I say me and you because you have backed Moyes up. Now I understand why you back Moyes up because it's the best you've ever seen. Yeah, so I can get that to a level. I can look at you and go, you're a young lad. You back Moyes up. You've seen Europe multiple times now. He's won us a trophy. He's got us to a semi-final. I get it. I do. Yeah, but it's the organisation of the club, and that comes from the top. It comes from the top because if you know Tim Steidten is coming in, and you know that Moyes should have known this was coming, yeah, and then basically there should have been a sort of direction that you either sack Moyes, yeah, and say right, Moyes, thanks a lot, we're going to get in a new manager, give him the pre-season, and then bring in new players, etc. But what you've done is you've brought the new man in, and you want Moyes to change with the new man, yeah, which ain't going to happen. Like Moyes. And we all know that as fans. Moyes is not going to change his style, yeah, or the way he plays. And he's certainly not going to go out and buy players that doesn't suit his system because, one, his job's on the line, and two, it'd be stupid to allow players to come into West Ham that ain't going to fit Moyes.
James, Sullivan and Moyes are standing on the edge of a 50-foot cliff. Who are you pushing?
We all know.
It's Sullivan. Sullivan's the problem. I've always said this. I say it all the time, right? And the best way of summing this up before I get Clive in, yeah, is this. Yeah, I say it all the time to people on this channel. And I'm not going to get angry no more because I'm not going to let West Ham destroy me, yeah? At the end of the day, Sullivan is the problem, yeah? Because Sullivan will not do the right thing and go out and get the right manager and have the right structure in place. It took Daniel Kadinsky to go out and find Steidten, yeah? Sullivan's been here 13 years, right? He still can't get it right. So look how many strikers we've had in that time. Sullivan likes to basically use agents that he trusts, yeah, so you can get a nice little drink out of it. Oh
my God, we didn't even. Oh.
Right, and you got the agents' fees. I could go on and on and on, yeah. And then you got David Moyes, who I don't like. I don't like the way he plays football. I don't like the way his stubborn approach. But Sullivan blows Moyes completely out the water with what he has done, and that is it. And to get your answer bang on, I would push Sullivan firmly off the cliff.
He'll only pay Salthouse his agent fees, but no one else's.
Would you watch Sullivan fall? Like, would you take delight in watching him fall?
Alf, I'll watch you fall if we all knew your identity. Do you know what I mean? But do you know what I mean? But it is what it is. Clive. The vibe. Talk to me.
Hello. Hello, Lucas. How's your boyfriend over in Czech Republic?
Oh, he's lovely. We had a little cuddle this morning over transfer talk.
Oh yeah, is he bought that 2 billion whatever company he's trying to buy that's French or whatever?
I'm trying to push him over the line. I might have to do a little bit
Clive,
more.
What are you saying, mate, about what's going on?
Do you know what? Do you remember before the end of the season, I said, like, I am intrigued to see how this summer goes. We either back him or if we don't, he needs to go. Like, because it's clear that we're getting rid of him. No, how I see it is just like, it's very clear like Moyes is not fighting for anything. Like, I know you're saying Moyes is, what's he fighting for? Think about it. He's not in a lose-lose situation here. Moyes is actually in a win-win situation, right? If he actually does well next season, with the limited tools that he has, then Moyes looks incredible. Even if we end, which I mean, it's quite obvious, we end the partnership in 12 months' time or 9 months' time or whatever it is when June 30th hits. So Moyes will look really good. He's bought us a trophy and he's done well with very limited funding in this season. And if he doesn't do well, and let's say we sack him, which I don't think we will, everyone will be like, well, no one funded him.
But But is there a problem here that Moyes could walk in a way?
If I was him, I would have walked. If I was him, I would have walked. I think the only reason he hasn't walked, and he has walked in the past, he walked out of Sunderland. He obviously left Preston to go to Everton. He left Everton to go to Manchester United. So the only job he's resigned from is literally Sunderland. But I think if it was that bad of a situation, Moyes would have gone. I think the reason Moyes has not gone is contracts. Usually, when you agree mutually, it means the board have to accept your resignation. There's nothing to suggest that Moyes hasn't handed in his resignation, but it hasn't been accepted. We don't know that.
Yeah, but what would happen there though if it didn't get accepted for any reason?
Moyes would have to stay because he's in a contract. That's the problem. He's in a contract, right? So like, he can't hand in a transfer request like a football player, right? But unfortunately with him, it's a breach of contract if he tries to not turn up like Aaron Cresswell, for instance.
Yeah, but surely the Football Managers Association, I think it is, would have to intervene there if a manager is looking to resign or wants to leave his contract.
It depends on the circumstances, because think about it. If West Ham sacked him,
right,
he could go to the Managers Association and go unfair dismissal.
Could do, yeah, he could,
because it would be an unfair dismissal. Like you can't sack a man that's just won us our first trophy in 40 odd years.
Yeah, I know.
You just can't. It's embarrassing. And I think that's the thing. Like, I think the board would deliberately refuse any.
What do you mean unfair dismissal? Surely you can't do that.
It would be an unfair dismissal if they sacked him right now. Moyes could easily go to the Managers Association and go, was it the LMA, isn't it? He could go to the LMA and claim unfair dismissal unless he's given the correct amount of compensation. Well, you would then take the directors to court for unfair dismissal, and he'd probably win more than he would have for his final year of contract. So it would just basically be, and it wouldn't be a sacking. It would probably be reversed. It would be that he was unfairly dismissed instead of sacked.
So what are our final thoughts here?
I just think Moyes is not in a lose-lose situation, because I genuinely think, and this is the irony, right? I think we're going to get to the first game of the season. I think the fans, depending on the obviously it's an away game, but I think depending on the situation of how we play that game could be the sort of atmospheric situation we're going to be in for going on the season. So by the time we get to our first home game, by the time we get to the window closing, if we've not signed anyone by the end of that window, I think we're going to be looking as toxic as West Ham Burnley a few years ago, where people were, agree. I think that's what we're looking at, because I think the anger won't. I think there will be some sections that will blame Moyes, but I think there will be a lot of anger towards the board, and I think we're going to see another West Ham Burnley home situation that we saw about 4 or 5 years ago now.
Yeah, 2000 and
shout out Bubbles.
2018, I think it was, or 17, I think it was.
I mean, I was there when it all happened. So I mean, I think it's going to become a very toxic environment, and I think ultimately people will either stick or not stick behind Moyes. But I think all this rumbling where it's Steindl versus Newman versus Moyes, this,
people
that, and the
will
other,
perish.
It's going to be.
But let's be honest, when is the London Stadium not toxic? I'm fed up of it now. All this negativity all the time.
No, I agree with you. I do agree with that. I think. I mean, look, with the whole purpose of us going to that stadium was to improve things. This is why.
As Sir Daddy would say, a bunch of baloney.
Well, it was, but this is exactly why. Say, for instance, where James says, where we always talk about we should be going for bigger players, this, that, and the other. I mean, he's not wrong. Based on what we were sold for going to the London Stadium, it was for these European nights. It was to become a club that is fighting to get a European place. It was all of these things. But, I've accepted that. I mean, my expectation for this season is if Moyes manages for us not even to get in a relegation dogfight and we end up somehow having a European Cup run, I think Moyes has had a severely successful season and arguably a better season than winning the Europa Conference.
Gents, I've just seen the new software that we're on. Brighton have used it to sign 32 players. And we know Brighton's recruitment isn't half bad.
Yeah, but they've got a structure in place. We don't even know who the manager's going to be by the end of the month. The problem is, listen, I agree with you. I really do. Like, there's a lot of divide at West Ham at the minute. Like, and I just don't understand why. Like, I understand it. Like, if you go back 2.5 months ago, we had the best moment in all our lives. All of our lives. Like seeing West Ham win a trophy. Yeah. And you see me crying on here. Yeah. You see all of us over the moon. You boys were out there. Yeah, watching it. Like, Clive was in.
Mate, I cried.
I was in Zanti, James. Sorry.
Using Zanti, like disco dancing, right? And Clive was over there, right, and see it live. Now, in a space of 2 months, we've lost our captain, we've lost our best player, we've lost staff members, we've lost other players, and I just don't get, for the life of me, how you can go from that to where we are now, where we don't even know the captain's going to be for Bournemouth. We just don't know, do we?
I think not knowing the captain is probably the least of our issues, because obviously there's a leadership group that's already fucked. There goes one
That's
quid.
a pound.
Yeah, there goes one quid. I tried so hard as well. But no, in all seriousness, I think, you know, we've got a leadership group in disarray with 1/3 of our vice captains of last season refusing to even train or anything at the moment. In terms of Aaron Cresswell, we've got 2 missing staff members for Moyes, or 2 less than last season. I think in a way those things are somewhat more important. I mean, if let's say hypothetically, has Moyes not been allowed to bring in 2 new staff members for him?
No, Sullivan doesn't want to pay extra wages.
But this is what I mean. Like, we actually don't know. And then if you actually look at those sort of aspects, I mean, I'm really, in a weird way, and I don't wish West Ham losing any games, but in a weird way, I would love for us to lose to Bournemouth just to see Moyes' reaction and if he turns on the board. Because if that goes public,
I want to see us beat Bournemouth, Clive. I'm more worried about.
I totally get what you're saying.
I want us to win, but I kind of just want to. I feel like if we win, to use James's analogy, we're papering over cracks, and then the board will be like, "See, we don't need any more players."
So I can get what Clive's saying there.
If we lose, though, we know what our fan base is like. It's just going to get even worse.
Oh no, 100%, 100%. But in a way, I don't want to see a public fallout, but I just want to see what Moyes' thoughts are going to be, because I know that if we lose, the biggest question that's going to come from all of the journalists in the press conference straight after that game is, are you close to any signings? Is Moyes at this point going to back the board and say, look, we've tried and yada, 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 this, that and the other, and accept his own fate and go, do you know what, some of the fan base just still hate me? Or is Moyes finally going to turn and go, the board are not backing me? And is this where we're going to see the moment where Moyes might even try and force out being sacked?
Yeah, but don't you find, though, Clive, that if that was the case, it wouldn't have gone on for this long, and I don't think he would still be here, Moyes. If they turned around and said, right, Moyes, we're going to get rid of Declan Rice. Now, someone said this to me last year. They said, James, don't get excited about this with Declan Rice and possibly leaving this season, because all the transfers we've done last year is going to be because of Rice's transfer this season. Like, do you know what I mean? So I just don't know. I just don't know where the club are going. Like, do you know what I mean? Because it just seems like you got Sullivan, Moyes, Steiden. They're all going in different directions, and Moyes is like so stubborn in a way that he does not want to leave. Yeah, because it makes him look bad. But Sullivan ain't going to sack him because it makes him look bad. So,
do you think if Moyes left, we could actually get a better manager right now?
I don't trust Sullivan. I don't trust Sullivan to do the right thing.
We get Chris Hughton.
Take out Sullivan out of the equation for a minute.
Right.
Based on the current availability of managers, do you think there is a manager right now that could do better than Moyes that's available?
But what is better than Moyes in your eyes then, Clive? That's
Well,
what needs to ask.
you want to see us go upwards, right? So I'm saying in the terms of going upwards, then better than Moyes, because I think if there's any manager we went for, we'd be looking at being very stagnant in terms of we would be in a similar position than what we are in at the moment.
Right. But then I will say one thing. If we do bring a manager in, that manager has to be looking to win the Europa League.
But that's what I mean. I don't see us getting a manager. The only manager I could see with a little bit of sort of quality that could, work with someone like Steiden and Newman is actually Graham Potter. Right. But obviously we've seen what Graham Potter did with Chelsea and it wasn't great.
Yeah, and you can't say that he's better than Moyes currently.
No. Off of current basis, you could say.
And I really like Graham Potter.
Yeah, but and you can also say he didn't overachieve with Brighton because you could say his replacement has done just as good, if not better, than him.
But wouldn't you say though, on that argument, that there's been other managers before, like let's say Antonio Conte, for instance, who went to Chelsea, done pretty well, got sacked, went to Spurs, flopped. But is Conte a bad manager? I don't think he is.
Conte's a short-term manager. Conte's a short-term manager. He's the same as Mourinho. You have him for 2 or 3 years and then you let him go because they create too much divide in a dressing room. And that's that sort of manager. It's the same as Maurizio Sarri. It's the same as there's a few managers that you only get in for like short-term projects. Mourinho's, stuff like that. And then you've got people like Klopp and Guardiola that they unite dressing rooms and they're there for a long-term project. That's why Klopp wasn't sacked last season or any time that they've done bad performances in the league.
Clive,
yes.
Let's have it right. Mr. Moyes, at this moment in time, I've done a poll this morning, Lyle Greenwood and Mr. Moyes, and people have voted Mr. Moyes as our best ever manager, yet they're throwing him under the bus.
Yeah, I do think it's unfair for him to be thrown under the bus. I understand that people think he's being stubborn. I understand that. But I think there's a bit of give and take. Why should Moyes give in to what Steiden wants if Steiden's not even giving him a little bit? I think there needs to be a little bit of both.
But something what Elite just said, and I don't always agree with Elite, but he has got a point, is like if Moyes is being backed and he's the man that people have said, right, Dave, we're gonna give you this season, but we still believe in you, because that's what they're doing basically, because they could let him go if they wanted to. Surely whoever Moyes brings in, you've got to accept it because he's the manager of the ship. In a roundabout way.
I mean, yes. I mean, look, how I see it is Steiden, for instance, like if it's true that he's blocked Moyes from signing players, that to me is not on, because in my eyes, Steiden's job is to find people and provide it as an opportunity. Like, these are the people I've looked at. Here are their stats. Here
and
are
the other way around.
Analytics. Yeah, but from my eyes, Steiden and Newman, stuff like people like that, their point is based off of stats and all of the sort of computer algorithms that provide the information that's needed. But you have to argue, Steiden, for instance, like I know we have this argument saying about Moyes, but we've also got scouts, no? Like, but what are the scouts in this position? Like, the whole purpose is you could be great statistically, right? You can look good, and let's use Moneyball as an example for anyone that's seen the film. Statistically, you could get a lot of players that are, say, of an older age, etc., that can provide what we need in the short term and provide us a little bit of utility in the sense of statistics. However, the purpose of scouts is to watch these players to see if they actually do what these things that we're seeing are. Now, I don't necessarily fully believe that Steiden is now taking the job of all of the scouts, and the same with Newman, because then what the fuck? Another quid.
That's £2.
What is the point of any of these scouts going out to these countries to find players? Where do these scouts fit in? Why do we have scouts? What's the point? Because then you would have to argue Steiden and Newman are way in over their heads and doing more than their jobs were. Like, there's so many aspects to it that you've got to go, what the heck is going on? Like, it just doesn't add up. And I don't see how Steiden can block a Moyes transfer when I understand this whole, like, Premier League proven's a little bit much and whatnot. I do get that to an extent, but I don't understand why we can't just get one or two players in that have that sort of aspect, and then also bring in a couple of others. It just doesn't.
Well,
yeah.
For me, right, while WestHamOnline keeps like screenshotting stuff on his local Twitter, I'm going to say this. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but is there a case of they ain't going to budge with transfers until Moyes goes with what they want to do? Because that's what it feels like now. Dennis Zakaria looks like he's on his way to Monaco. People think that West Ham are going to automatically go out and get Fofana. Do you really believe that we're going to go out and get Fofana right now? Because I genuinely don't. I really don't.
No, we're not. We're not getting Fofana, and I think even if we got half these players that are being, touted and whatnot, I think even if Moyes didn't do well with them, I think the board is still going to stick with Moyes.
Guess what?
I think
it would still take 6 months for them to get adjusted.
Yep, and stuff like that. And I just think there's too much at it. Embarrassment's not even a word. I'm thinking to myself, we're going to go into the Europa League. We're going to get knocked out in the group stages at this rate. We're not going to have a single cup run, and we're probably going to be fighting relegation. That's how I'm going into the season.
But how can you go though, Clive? Clive, how can you go from winning a trophy 2.5 months ago to now in this situation? That to me is just wrong on so many levels.
One
that's
answer.
The argument. Go ahead.
Or actually, well, it's 2 words. One answer.
David Sullivan. Yeah, I mean, look,
and Tim Steidten.
I would also argue that I can't remember what year Sullivan and Gold left Birmingham City, but
2006, I think it was.
Yeah. Sure around that time they ended up winning a League Cup in 2010, 2011. Then they got relegated around that time. You've got teams like Wigan that have won like the FA Cup, then got relegated a couple of seasons later. Right. So, I mean, you can argue, all right, we've won a cup, but unfortunately, unless you're a big team, like as in top 16, if you've won a trophy and you're not considered to be a part of the big six and whatnot, it doesn't look good.
It don't look good, mate. It don't look good. It's quite worrying. For me, to sort of as we sort of come towards the end, what you expected over the weekend in regards to West Ham, because obviously we're going to Leverkusen, all of us, like that. And you know what? I'm just not looking forward to the season. I am fearing the absolute worst at the minute. I'm looking forward to seeing West Ham play, but I'm not looking forward to the results that I think are going to come. Like, if they need to make a decision, right? If we don't sort this out and we start the season and we start slow, like David Sullivan is the problem, mate. And the thing is,
we are going to start slow, aren't we? Because I mean, look at our fixture list. It's not exactly like we're facing bottom half teams. I mean, we've got Bournemouth, and then we've got all of the big six basically in one shebang.
It's just not good. It's just not good at the end of the day. Yeah. Something's got to give. Something has to give. Yeah. I've got a funny feeling. I don't know why. I said this 5 days ago. That was at 12 to be the first one gone. I think he walks. I'm going to say it quite openly. I think David Moyes will walk soon.
What will your reaction be, James?
Yippee!
How will I react? Good question, Alf.
It depends when it is, though, isn't it? Let's say Moyes
2 days before we play Bournemouth. 2 days.
If he walks out, if he walks, or there's a mutual agreement, then basically Moyes' hand's been forced. Basically, yeah. And then Sullivan looks like he gets away with it again. Instead of Sullivan coming out after winning the conference and saying about Moyes and saying how well he's done by winning the trophy, but we're going to have to talk about the future with Moyes. He made it categorically clear that he won't sack him. But what he didn't say to people is that he isn't going to make it unbearable for David Moyes. Yeah, and that's the difference. If he does go in that circumstance, I will feel slightly sorry for Moyes, but not majorly sorry. I will think to myself like you should, like, if he's walked on his own accord, then you got to respect it. Yeah. But Sullivan is the problem. Sullivan should have dealt with this 2 months ago. And he hasn't.
My final thoughts going into the weekend. I'm excited to see us play. I really hope we see our best 11 on Saturday, and hopefully that will give us some hope going into next week. But currently, right now, staying positive about West Ham United challenge, impossible.
Prediction. Tomorrow's team will be the exact team that we're going to start at Bournemouth.
I would hope.
Away, providing there's no injuries. And Danny Ings is going to start as a solo striker.
Ooh.
Do you know what? This is if this is.
Oh yeah, because if Skamaka goes, you're not wrong. Yeah, I actually think I thought Alfie was having us on for a sec, but I actually think he might be onto something. And I hate saying that, but I think he might be right.
So it'll be Ings up front on his own, Downs and Souček in midfield, Connor Coventry on the bench. Yeah.
I feel sad for little West Ham, Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs, the Giants of London. How many?
2-1, you prick.
That's another pound. Has Harry Kane won a trophy at Spurs? I just want to ask if he won that.
The Audi Cup.
The Audi Cup. That is correct.
No, he just won a Tiger Cup. I saw
how old's Mbemba? 18, isn't he?
18, yeah.
18 years old. He's won more trophies than Harry Kane. Just want to put that out there to the Spurs for life fan. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
All right.
Conference champions. Just remember that. Do you know what I mean? We might be in the mud, but we've still got the silverware to get there. All right. Any final thoughts? Alfred, go. Anything you want to say?
Mr. Moyes has saved the club since coming through the door. He won Manager of the Year in 2021, and that's for the whole of London. He's came 6th, he's came 7th, and he won Conference League. Throughout his time at the club, he's beaten Sevilla. He also beat Lyon 3-0 away. And as we know, he beat Fiorentina in the Conference League final. The only stumbling block was Eintracht Frankfurt, and an Aaron Cresswell red card was a big reason for that. Throughout his time at the club, David Moyes has overachieved given the situations he's been given from David Sullivan. The club have a lack of scouts, a lack of backroom staff, and Moyes has had to go out and personally appoint his own staff. Unfortunately, David Sullivan's not going to be leaving the club soon, but I hope people get off David Moyes' back and realise what Mr. Moyes has done for the club. He will go down as a club legend, and in my poll today, he got voted the best manager of all time to walk through the West Ham United doors.
So what? I nearly said about 5 swear words then, but I fell back.
Alfie,
you know what I mean?
Alfie, you can breathe now, all right, mate?
Alfie can breathe now.
Clive,
mate,
please.
Mate, I just can't do it anymore. I really can't do it with him.
Clive,
really
round us off, please.
Go on, Clive.
I think it's quite clear that there's a lot of turmoil in the West Ham backroom staff. I think we're a club in disarray. Genuinely, we're in disarray. Our only signing so far is making a new co-chairman, which I mean at this point is effectively sorting out nothing for this club. I think until we have just one ownership, there'll never be one direction for the club. I think the next 12 months are going to be very, very tough for the fan base.
Lucas, for you?
I've said my piece. I want to thank everyone that has come in and watched us all waffle for an hour and 50 minutes.
Well, but the thing is, we've had people on. I want to thank all the people who's come on. Tay, Lee, Steve, obviously Clive and WestHamOnline are part of the channel, so it is what it is. I'm going to say this, to round it up from me.
Oh, and thank you for Tay for holding up his end on the swear jar. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, let me land there. Right, I'm going to say this. Something has got to give in regards, mate. Trust me. I will give you the emotional damage, mate, because that's how I feel in a minute.
Emotional damage.
Right. Eat and go, because I can't be having him in my ear roll. Do you know what I mean? Part-time Arsenal FC. Right, listen, I'm going to say this, right? Sullivan and Moyes and Steiden need to all kiss and make up. I want to see some signings at this club. I really do, and I am begging to see someone come in the door. Do you know what I'm saying? Tomorrow is a game where we are going to see who the captain is going to be, and I reckon the captain will be the captain who starts against Bournemouth. I already do. So if it is Aguirre, then I think it's nailed on it that he will be captain for the Bournemouth game. And we need to like reassure. Like they need to reassure the fans. Like Sakaria is gone. Like Borges is gone. All these other players are gone, and we're going to be gone in a minute because like I can't be dealing with this anymore. It's driving me mental. Do you know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. At the end of the day, it's West Ham United. We carry on through thick and thin. You had the glory 2.5 months ago, and now we're going through the shite. So yeah. Please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel. Please do hit the notification bell. Check out the members perks. Me and Lucas will be back in an hour or two to do our betting stuff on the members section of the video. And that is it from us. Lucas, roll the outro. I am done out of here. I'm Sullivan.